I'm Anisha Dubois. I'm the Global Director of Events for the Children's Media Association. I am one of many volunteers within CMA whose dedication strengthens this nonprofit's mission to unite, inform, and inspire. After this session, please visit childrensmediaassociation.org to learn more about our mission to promote excellence and innovation in media designed for young audiences. Okay. In today's job market, your online presence is your first impression, whether you know it or not. Long before a resume is open, recruiters are Googling candidates. They're scrolling, they're clicking, they're forming opinions from TikToks all in seconds. And what they find, especially on our social media platforms, can absolutely shape whether doors open or if they quietly close. That's why tonight's session is so important. We're excited to kick off part one of this 4-part career series with someone who's been on the other side of the hiring table, former Netflix recruiter Sam Goff. Sam has reviewed thousands of candidates and knows exactly what recruiters look for when they search online. And just as importantly, what can unintentionally hold people back. So tonight, Sam will walk us through, or today, depending on where you are, Sam will walk us through how to build a compelling personal brand, how to use social media strategically, which platforms actually matter for your industry, and simple yet actionable ways to elevate your digital presence. Starting right now. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Happy Black History Month. I'm really excited to be here with you all. This is a lecture that I have actually taught at the university level at Cal State Long Beach here in California. And so I'm really excited to bring it to you all today. Let's go ahead and get started.
Awesome. And as always, please leave your questions for Sam as she's going through her presentation here in the chat, and we'll be sure to weave them through the presentation. All righty, let me pop this on up. And
great. Thanks. As we talked about today, we're talking about utilizing your social media. I want to calm you all now because you're like, I don't want to be a social media influencer. I've only got 3 followers. I don't know what I'm doing. That is a-okay. As a recruiter, from my perspective, if you only had 1 follower and that was your mom, I would not care. I don't care about your following. I don't care about how many likes you're getting. I care about how you're presenting yourself. When we look at portfolios and resumes, cover letters, those are you putting forward your most polished and professional self. Social media is a way to show more your true, authentic self. Give a little bit of personality. So let's go on to the next slide. So to give that personality, the first thing we need to think about is your branding, your personal branding. Not only is this a small insight into who you are and your aesthetic, but it is a visual way to connect you, everything that you are in the various places that it exists. So if you have that personal branding that is consistent across your social media, your website, your cover letter, your your resume, all of this kind of puts it all together into the same world, and it helps to connect the dots for somebody who might come across you in several different places. But before we get into your personal branding, I want to illustrate a little bit more the power of branding. So next slide, please. I would like for you all to drop in the chat how many of these logos you can identify. I'm going to wait for a second while people who have access to the comments are going in there. These are all pretty common logos, some social media, some food, some tech.
I'm going to answer for myself. I think I know 13. Max said he knows all of them. Hannah knows all of them.
Oh, a lot of people are coming through now. You know all of them.
Okay, wait. Okay, me and Jamie are on the same page. Me and Jamie know 13. So left out.
Okay, well, now that people have gotten a chance to try, can you reveal the answers?
Yes.
There we go. Thank you so much.
Of course.
All right, so we see that almost all of you were able to, the lowest number I think I saw was 9 or 10. Mm-hmm. And the highest, people were able to identify all of them. And that was without any words, without any context. You are just looking at the logo and you know what that logo represents, who that logo represents, right? Next slide, please. Oh, I had a different thing left. Okay, never mind. We're going to skip that. Okay, so when we're talking about your brand, you're creating a distinct identity for your audience, just like those logos that we were looking at. And you want to make them consistent, but it doesn't have to necessarily be exactly the same. So Steven Silver, he is an artist from Disney. He now teaches a lot of online classes. I think he was a recruiter for a hot second. He's got a really good branding social media presence. The top image is his website. The middle image is his not Instagram, his Twitter, and then the bottom one is his LinkedIn. And so we can see that his quote unquote logo is his name, Silver, in his signature, where the S kind of comes across as a pencil. So it's giving, artist, somebody who's going to be signing something. It's also showing the pencil, that is his medium, that is what he's working with. And then it has that strong color story. We see the same gray, the same red, and the same black across all the different places where we see it shown, even though it looks slightly different. Like in his website, the lettering is in gray and then the S is in red. And then on the header for his not TikTok, I keep forgetting Twitter. I've like put Twitter/X out of my mind. And so now I can't even think of the name of it. But anyway, in his bio there, we see that it is just straight black on white, or excuse me, red on white. So you can remix it in different ways, make it look different to fit whatever the situation is, but it has that consistent look and that consistent color story of those three colors. Next slide, please. This is another artist, somebody who's a little bit earlier on in her career. And she has a logo that she drew that's a little like cartoon version of her. So I wanted to show that like you can draw something that can represent you, or you could just have like a simple name. Either way, it's a way of just kind of branding yourself. So here she has this character. We see the character in a close-up. We see a three-quarter view, three-quarter view, and on her website you can see a full body view. And then she took colors from that image to become her branding colors. So the blue of the hair, the yellow peachy color of the skin, and the maroon of the sweater have become her colors, her color story. And so we see that used consistently across the different mediums.
Sam, I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks like on the right, like she's using the character. Is that I'm not sure if that's like as like the picture for her social platform. Like, what do you say to that? Like, should creators use their face or like use their illustrations, or what would you say to that?
Yeah, great question. I think the only one where you need to make sure that you have your actual face is
Mhm.
LinkedIn. On your
Okay.
LinkedIn, your image should be a professional photo of you. What you see here that Bianca has on her LinkedIn, it's that top left photo or top left image. It is her. But then on the right, both images, you see that she's using her logo, her branding, and that's her Instagram and her Twitter. So I think if you want to use your logo that way, absolutely
Mhm.
should, except on your LinkedIn. That's going to be your one exception.
Got it. And is this for illustrators, or like for me, let's just say like I'm a voiceover, actress. Do I necessarily need to go like towards the like, my name in a logo or have a personal logo? Like for someone like me, what would you suggest, or creators out there who are listening who are like me, what would you suggest? Do we have to have specific colors or, name branding? Like what can tie all of our social platforms together?
Yeah. Yes. You don't have to draw an image of yourself, that's something definitely targeted more at somebody who's an illustrator, storyboard artist, somebody who's doing that creative work. But you still want to find a way to brand yourself and have that brand consistency,
Got it.
that logo consistency. So maybe it's your signature, or maybe you just have a headshot or a picture of yourself that you really like and you use it everywhere, something that is tying everything together.
Gotcha. Okay. I have another question, but I'll wait.
It's all good. So let's go to the next slide.
Really quickly, I see two comments saying the video spinning for anyone, and someone said theirs just stopped working. Please let me know if you can or can't see the slideshow. Just want to make sure everybody has access to it. And while we wait for those comments to come in, I'll go ahead and move on. Oh, Piju said he refreshed it and that seemed to help. Oh, Rose says she's back now. Okay, perfect. All righty.
So then your branding, when we're talking about having it across all platforms, it doesn't actually necessarily need to be exactly the same. We can think back to the Steven Silver example of how he remixed it and made it look a little bit different in various places. This is another one. It's the same person, but this is the image that he uses as his avatar across 3 different platforms. And while they are distinctly different, there is enough that is tying them all together. First and foremost, that predominant color of yellow is the same across all of them. Then you have that 3/4 view that's the same across with the face, the glasses, the beard. All of those things are consistent. Having a hat. So the fact that the hat is different or that the clothes are different isn't the first thing that you're noticing. Instead, you're more noticing the cohesion of all of them. They all still tie together.
Yeah.
So if you are like, oh, I really like this one here, but it doesn't work in this place, it's okay to switch it up. You just need to keep enough consistency that it reads as the same thing. And you see that with other brands. Like we think of Google, one of the biggest brands out there. We know that it's got those 4 colors, the red, blue, yellow, green, right? Sometimes their logo is literally just 4 dots. Red, blue, yellow, green, and it's Google. Sometimes it's the letter G and striped in on that letter, red, blue, yellow, green. Sometimes it's the word Google and each letter is a different color, red, blue, yellow, green. See what I'm saying? Even though the logo looks completely different, we are having enough of that consistency that you still can read it as the same thing as you're looking at it in different contexts.
Got it.
Next slide, please. So, how to brand yourself. You need to think deeply. Who are you? What do you do? First of all, like what is it that you're advertising? Second, what makes you special? How can you make it memorable and unique? And then third and most important is consistency. I myself actually recently updated my branding. I had an old image that I had been using for a while, and I felt like it didn't really reflect who I was anymore. And so I recently made a new one where I am known for having pet snakes. I have 2 pet snakes, and I have a full sleeve tattoo on my leg of snakes. And so I'm a snake girly. I also have like my presentation, the way that I like show up in the world is a very alt goth kind of look. So I think of myself as like executive goth. And so the new logo that I created for myself was dark and all black. I'm wearing a mesh shirt, the dark green background because green is my favorite color. And then I drew myself as a Medusa. So coming out of my locks, some of it is just locks, and then some of it is snakes coming out of my hair. So obviously, that's not telling you about what I do with my career, but it is telling you who I am, right? It's telling you something that is unique and distinct about me that shows up. When I show up in person, you're going to see the snakes represented. You're going to see the dark clothing and the alt aesthetic because that's just who I am. So you're finding a way to kind of represent you in whatever way that you can or whatever way that you see fit. It could simply be like, my logo is my favorite color. I wear this color a lot. I use this color on all my things. My notebook is this color. You know, you don't have to get like too fancy with it, but you want it to reflect you in
I
some.
I do want to ask, when you say like just showing up as your true self, right? Like, what if, a potential employee, like someone like one of us creators, if who we are is loud and colorful, but we feel it may not match the role we're going out for, so we may want to like silence ourselves a little bit. Like, how do we, how do we like? What's the middle? Like, how do we do the middle with that?
I am a huge proponent in that you do not silence yourself. You do not make yourself smaller. You show up professionally, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
coming back to myself, as like an alt goth girly. If I'm going out to drinks with friends, I might be in like short shorts and fishnets and a see-through top, you know, and like spike covered in spikes. I'm not showing up to a work function like that.
yeah.
Instead, I'm showing up to a work function in a black dress with a black blazer that has like a snake pendant attached to it, maybe snakes dangling from my ears, right? So it's still me showing up in my true authentic self, but
Yeah.
showing up in a way that makes sense for the context that I'm in. So that's what I would suggest for people. If you are a bright, colorful, loud person, show up to that meeting as a bright, colorful, loud person and just know when is it appropriate for you to be loud and when is it appropriate for you to like sit back and listen to what the other person is saying.
I do have one more question. Only because
Yeah.
everyone watching, like I didn't cheat, like I didn't go ahead in the slide, so I'm like learning as you all are learning and seeing. But I did want to ask, like when it comes to, like, let's just say, Twitter, or before it was X, may not have been the best version of myself. Let's say, people get caught all the time, especially you see with
Mm.
celebrities saying the most off the wall things back in 2014 before they became famous. Let's say, as a recruiter, does it look bad if you can see my LinkedIn, but let's say if you try to find me on Facebook or TikTok or Snapchat, those are all private? Does that make you as a recruiter say, why?
Yes, but I have an answer for that. So if you put a pin in it, we'll get to
Gotcha.
it.
Okay, perfect. Moving on.
Yeah, so let's go to the next thing. For next is posting. What am I posting on my socials? What am I supposed to talk about?
Mhm.
Let's go to the next slide. What you're doing is you are showing what makes you tick. What are you learning? What are you practicing? What are you working on? How are you growing? What inspires you? Um, what original IP have you come up with? Or what video or TV shows, movies, videos have you seen recently that you're really excited about? These are the kinds of things that you want to talk about. You want to be in the completely in the context of the industry within you work. Wow, that was not said eloquently. The context within the industry that you work in. So next slide.
Mhm.
There are a couple of things that I want to say. Don't post personal updates. And that's kind of picking back up on the pin of what Anisha was asking earlier. Your social media presence for your professional stuff and for your personal stuff should be two separate accounts. Do
Mhm.
not give your personal account linked out in your job application, because that's a part of you that is you, but it is not relevant to what somebody who's looking to hire you is looking at you for.
Mhm.
So for me, I have a social media account that is my personal account where it's like me on vacation with my wife, or me playing with my pets, or family dinner, whatever. And then I have my professional account, which uses my logo, uses my branding, and it's about the animation industry. What am I doing in the industry? Like, what's an engagement I'm going to be doing? Where can you see me speaking? What's the latest research I've been doing that I'm really excited about? What's a movie that I watched that I'm totally into? The movie that I produced that is now debuted, and I want you all to watch it. So it's focused more in, it's still me, it's my world, but it's my world in where it's relevant to the job, the industry, what I do. versus me just in my personal daily life. And you don't want to cross those streams because recruiters, we do not have a lot of time. I have got 100 applications to look at in the next 30 minutes before I go into my next meeting. And that is barely an exaggeration. And so if I'm clicking onto your social media, I'm going to scroll through real quick. And if I see a bunch of vacation photos and photos of your dog, I'm going to be like, this is a waste of my time. So instead, you want to be posting something that is what I was talking about on the last slide. What are you working on? What are you studying? What inspires you? You want to post somewhat regularly. If I go and I look at and you haven't posted in like a year, 2 years, then I'm like, are you even still doing things? Are you still learning and growing and being inspired? So you want to make sure that you have some kind of regular cadence. I'm not saying every day. I'm not even saying every week. Maybe you put something in your calendar where you're like once a month, on the 15th of every month, I'm gonna post something. Or maybe you tell yourself once a quarter, every 3 months, I'm gonna post something. More than once a year. I think once a quarter might be the smallest increment of time, or rather the largest increment of time that I would suggest. But you want people to know that you're out here, that you still exist, that you're still doing stuff. And when you're engaging in in conversations of what is happening currently in the industry, you want to be careful. You don't want to get into any like online comments, flame wars, talking about how much you hated this movie. You can say that you didn't like a movie, right? Like if you went and saw, I'm going to pick on Elio because I'm not the hugest fan of that movie, and it came out at the same time as K-pop Demon Hunters, which I am a huge fan of. So if I wanted to talk about that, about how these two movies came out at the same time and one is just so much better than the other, and it's not the studio that you would expect, I'm going to talk about it in a way that is respectful of the creators and the people behind it. I'm not going to be like, y'all are so stupid. Why did you make this horrible movie? You should have known better. But instead be like, I didn't really relate to Elio. The character kind of fell flat for me, whereas I could really connect to Rumi and her experience through this movie. And so I really felt called more to K-pop Demon Hunters. So you want to stay away from toxicity while still engaging in honest conversation. But you harass somebody or badmouth somebody, and then later you might be working with them, they're going to see that and they're going to be like, well, you hated my movie. Why do I want to work with you?
Yeah. I have a quick question. Karen asked, she's watching on StreamYard. She said, if I have a website and LinkedIn, can I skip social media where I might only have a personal account? She'd like to avoid setting up work-oriented Instagram account if possible. So can we still thrive doing just website, LinkedIn, and leaving maybe the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikToks to personal accounts?
Absolutely. LinkedIn is social media. So you got it. You got your professional social media account. You got your LinkedIn. Some people are like, I don't want to touch LinkedIn. And in that case, I'm like, well, then you got to make sure you have an Instagram.
I do have a follow-up to that question. Karen said, yay. I do have a follow-up to her question. Let's say on my resume, I have LinkedIn, my website, and maybe a link to like a portfolio somewhere, right? What does a recruiter, or will a recruiter, or have you gone to someone's like, oh, let me just see if I can find their personal Instagram or see their personal Facebook and see? No,
nobody got time for that.
Okay. Love to hear it.
I'm just going to be clicking on what you linked to me. So if I go to your website and you're like, here's my Instagram, I'm going to click that. But I'm not going to go and Google search you and see, oh, let me find this person's Instagram.
Got it. Okay. All righty.
It's a great question. Okay, next. So then we're thinking, who am I connecting with? You might have saw on the previous slide, I'm saying connect with everybody. Don't just look up at the people who can help you. So when you're following folks, you're connecting with folks, it's your peers. It's anyone and everyone that you meet. Every time even if I just emailed someone for the first time and we make a connection, I'm pulling up their LinkedIn and being like, hey, we're just talking to you on email. I want to connect here. So like anyone that you network with, obviously recruiters, studios that you want to work for, their careers pages, things like that. Professional organizations like CMA and other like organizations will have social media accounts all over. So those are the ones that you want to follow. And that's the ecosystem that you want to start to build so that your algorithm is showing you more of
Mm,
that stuff. That's how you're going to get notifications of jobs that are coming available, or internships, other kinds of opportunities, events that you might want to go to. So
mhm.
you're kind of you're curating your own algorithm, if you will, by who you follow and who you're interacting with.
Makes perfect sense.
Next slide. So there's a bunch of different social media sites out there.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Like, what do I do with this? Um, and I break it down for you. So first and foremost, LinkedIn. Next slide.
Hmm.
LinkedIn is the most professional of the social media sites. Before, at the very beginning, I was saying how like your resume, your portfolio, that's you like putting your best self forward. And then your
Hmm.
social media is a little bit more like here's the raw me.
Hmm.
LinkedIn is maybe somewhere in between.
Okay.
It's going to be the most professional. It's your digital version of your resume.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure that you have all your information up to date. You want to have a strong bio. You want to have your contact information, all of that stuff. And then you can kind of even use it as a social media address book of like connecting to people and like who do I know? Who have I met in the industry? Make sure you're connecting with those people so that if you need to call on them later for whatever reason, you have that connection. You've established, oh hey, we know each other, which is
Hmm.
why I always suggest for people there's two different functions on LinkedIn. There's the
Hmm.
follow function and there's the connect function. Connect
Mm.
means that both people have to say, yes, we know each other and we are now connected. Follow is just, I'm interested in what you have to say. And so I'm going to be following your account, adding it to my algorithm, but you have nothing to do with it.
Mhm.
So if it's someone that you don't have like a genuine connection with, so maybe it's a recruiter or a hiring manager, somebody that you kind of, somebody sent you an email and was like, hey, you should talk to this person, but you don't really like know them like that. Maybe somebody like myself, if you want to go and follow me on LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you do, but you've seen me speak and answer your questions, but we don't know each other. So that's someone that you're going to follow. A connect is somebody where you have actually talked to them, you engaged with them, you worked with them, you interviewed with them, something that's a little bit more concrete of a connection. That's when you want to go ahead and hit that connect button.
I love that you say that because when people like will connect with me, or if I want to connect with people, I look and see, oh, we know similar people. Oh, okay, let's connect. And I've never spoken to this person in my life. And so it's interesting that you bring that up about, connecting versus following. I do want to sidebar when it comes to like messaging. Like let's say, oh, you let's say, okay, I want a job at, Netflix, and I see Sam is a recruiter. She is a hiring manager. I'm going to connect. Let's just say that you allow the connection and you say yes to it. If I then message you, how do you take that? Because I see it all the time, like, oh, no unsolicited pitches, don't send anything. How do you take someone reaching out, messaging you via LinkedIn for an opportunity?
Yeah, great question. And the answer is nuanced.
Okay.
Because the unsolicited thing is real. You
Hmm.
do not send any materials. Don't send your portfolio, your script, your pitch deck, your idea. Don't give any of that unless you have permission to do so. That is a legal thing. That's going
Okay.
to get the recruiter potentially in trouble, and it's definitely going to get you blacklisted if you
Mhm.
just give that unsolicited information. But what you can do is reach out and be like, hey, I
Mhm.
have this pitch for a story. Here's the log line of the story. Would you be interested in seeing more? I can send you the deck, or I
Got
can
it.
send you the script.
Okay.
Or if you're looking for a job or advice on breaking into the industry, If you're going to reach out, have a concrete question, not
Mm-hmm.
an abstract big question of like, how do I get into the industry? Or
Yeah.
what's the best way to network? Though I teach entire university courses answering that question, I am not going to be able to type something out to you real quick. And
Yeah.
so I'm just going to look at that and be like, that's too big of a question. I can't
And
answer
move
it
on.
or ignore it. Exactly. So instead, ask something really specific of like, hey, I'm really interested in that job you posted about. Um, I have experience doing A, B, and C, but I don't have experience with D. I'm gonna go ahead and apply, but I would love to know, like, do you think that's gonna disqualify me? You know, something like that, where you have a very specific question, or maybe you're not applying for a job and you're just like, I want to work for this company. What do you suggest would be something to add to my resume that would really speak to this company in particular? Something like that, so that it's a specific question, something that's a lot easier for me to answer than
Yeah.
like some abstract concept where I'm like, I can't write a dissertation to you right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So just so it's not frowned upon.
No, I love somebody showing the hustle. You know,
Love.
if you got, I I'm speaking for myself,
Yeah.
right? I can't speak for all recruiters out there, but
Yeah.
I do appreciate the hustle. But I will say, since I've become a manager, so I was a recruiter at Netflix, and then after leaving Netflix, I did the inverse. I'm now a manager. Um, and I get a lot of unsolicited requests, not
Mhm.
materials,
Mhm.
of people being like, hey, do you want to read my script? Do you want to read my script? I'm looking for a rep. Um, my email is samgoffanum@gmail.com. And y'all can write that down. You can hit me up. But Anum, as in animation, is right there in the name.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I have people sending me like these form copy paste emails about their action thriller movie
Yeah.
that they wrote. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? This has nothing to do with me. And so I just ignore those. But if I had somebody who reached out and was like, hey, here's my animated comedy,
Mhm.
would you be interested? Now I'm like, oh, okay, you know who I am and what I do, rather than I'm
Yeah.
just throwing this out to anybody that will listen.
Yeah. I'm all for the reaching out, just because for me myself, I'm thinking I am one of maybe 1,000, especially when a Netflix job comes up, you're one of 1,000, maybe more candidates. And my way of thinking is, how can I set myself apart? I'm not gonna, float a banner out front of the Netflix building, but I at least can see who's the hiring manager, and I can connect with you on LinkedIn and reach out. So I love that you say that you accept those. Mackenzie asked, do you have a preference on which site to look at as a recruiter? Between LinkedIn, website, and Instagram?
I'm always going to look at your portfolio website first and
Okay.
foremost, assuming it's a artist job, which is what I recruited for. Um, and then secondarily, I'm going to go to your social media. Uh, and I don't, for an artist, I'm not really looking at your LinkedIn as much.
Okay.
But if you're not in an artistic role and you're in a different kind of role within the industry, then I'm going to be looking at your resume first and foremost, and
Mhm.
then your LinkedIn secondarily, and then probably over to your social media after that. So it depends on the kind of job and what information I'm looking for. On your LinkedIn, the information I'm looking for is who do you know? How do you connect with people? And how do you put yourself forward in a very professional way?
Gotcha.
So then next, Instagram. Instagram is the place for you to give more color commentary on what makes you tick as a creator. And this is any kind of creator. You don't have to be a visual artist. This can be for writers and actors, voice actors, things like that.
Mhm.
But it's you showing not just like, here's the final finished beautiful project, but here's the work in progress. Here's
Mm.
me trying something, learning something. Here's me doing a fan recreation of a favorite scene from a recent project that I really love, or from an old project that I really love that inspires me. Here's my fan art. Here's my original character that I've created. And I now have a full cosplay of this character that nobody has seen before because I created it, but now I'm going to act this thing out. Like, I really want to see the things that just inspire you, that make you tick. Who are you as an artist? recruiters are searching on Instagram a lot. Like
Mm-hmm.
you, when you apply to a job to us, we're going to go to your website first and foremost. But when we are looking for people, we're actively sourcing for artists. We're going to Instagram and we're looking at those hashtags and trying to find people who are posting the kinds of things that calls to our attention.
Well, can you share like some of the hashtags that you would search for any of the visual people who are watching? Or the any specific hashtags?
Yeah, literally hashtag animation industry or
Okay.
animation careers, hashtag, and then the name of whatever the job is. So
Okay.
hashtag voiceover artist, hashtag visual development, hashtag storyboard, whatever it is that you're doing, just putting that in the hashtag. Those are the kinds of things that we're searching for.
I love that you say that because Instagram not too long ago said that hashtags were dead. Hashtags didn't work. So I love that you as a recruiter, you're like, no.
Yeah, that's how that because that's our only way of searching.
Yeah.
But then we start to build up our ecosystem, our algorithm, right? And so once you have enough people, then Instagram is suggesting, oh, do you want to meet this person, this person, this person? And then I can continue to grow in that way.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the hashtags do help.
Okay.
Don't go crazy with it. You don't need like a whole paragraph of hashtags at the end of your post.
Yeah.
But here's some key ones like animation industry. Let's say you're a storyboard artist. Storyboard artist, uh, animation industry, action, adventure, something like that, something descriptive.
Gotcha. Daniel Kim asked, what would be any specific language or content that would be important when applying in a production role? I know you do like more like, visual artists, but could you answer?
Yeah, for production roles, you need to be somebody who is like type A, organized,
Mm,
somebody who can really meet the moment because it's your job to make the lives of the artists easier, right? The artist is just going to focus in on like, I am drawing this thing and that is all I do all day. And so
mhm.
when the artist is like, oh man, I need new pencils, that's what the production person's going to do. Or, oh man, I got to make it to this meeting. The production person's going to be like, here's the time and date of your meeting. Here's the calendar invite. And then maybe they're going to come to your door and be like, yo, it's meeting time. Let's go.
Mhm.
So you need to be somebody who's really organized, really on top of things. You know how to have everything in its place and know where those places are. You also
Mhm.
need to know how to connect with people. Like maybe this person needs you to be really heavy-handed and detail-oriented, whereas this person's like, no, leave me alone, give me the information, and then I will come to you if I need you. And you need to
Yeah.
be able to do that for both people rather than like, this is how I want to work. And so you all adapt to me. No, as a production person, you adapt to the needs of the artist.
How?
So,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
yeah, just to put a button on it, showing that you're resourceful, you're organized, you're adaptable, and that you are ready and willing to learn and grow. That's what we want to see for production people.
Got it. And how could that, like, let's say if you're coming to our link, like, how could, I guess we'd have to put that like in our previous job descriptions or,
Mhm.
okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, when we do next week, when we talk about resumes and cover letters, I'm going to break that down even more specifically about how you actually advertise that you have those skills.
Okay. Okay? Let me know if this is a question for next week, and I'll put a pin in it. But you were saying how you only have 30 minutes, and you're not exaggerating. You have 30 minutes to go through 100 resumes before your next meeting. Do you use those platforms that I don't know if they're called AI platforms, but they like scan
Mhm.
resumes and send you the top 10, top 5 out of 100? Like, do recruiters utilize those, and have you utilized those?
I personally do not like to utilize those,
Okay.
but there are people that do.
Okay.
They're called ATS, applicant tracking systems.
Okay.
And I will talk about how to kind of best optimize your choices with your chances with that.
Okay. Okay.
But since I was recruiting for creative positions specifically,
Mhm.
and ATS isn't looking at your portfolio, it's not looking at your art. And
Yeah.
so I can't really discern who you are as an artist from your resume alone. So
Got
me
it.
personally, I would be going through portfolios. Um, but other people do definitely use those ATSs to kind of help lighten the burden, because I'm not exaggerating when I say I put a post for one open position and
Yeah.
I get 1,000 plus applications and I have to
Wow.
go through all of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you do go through all of them.
Uh,
Or do you maybe don't answer that one, but like
no,
do you
I'm gonna keep it 100. I think it depends. It
okay.
depends. When I was recruiting for like an entry level position,
Mhm.
absolutely I'm gonna go through all of them because I want to make sure that everybody gets their chance.
Got it.
If I'm going for something that's more intermediate or an upper level, then I'm going to be focusing more on reviewing the people who come with recommendations,
Gotcha.
or people who have worked here before, those kinds of things, rather than like any old application.
Got it. Because I see like especially like a Netflix post that comes across LinkedIn for a job, you'll see like be one of the first 500 applicants, and I'm like, just forget it. I go through 500, so it's good to hear that especially for entry level, you do go through all of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I once terrified my class while they were supposed to be working on, I think it was their social media. I just went ahead and pulled up the ATS that I was working with at the time and was like,
Hmm.
I'm going to do some portfolio reviews while y'all are working. And I started going through it, and I looked up after like 15 minutes and they were all staring at me with their jaws on the floor. And I was like, what? And they were like, you're going so fast. They
Oh
were
yeah,
like, how do you even see it that fast?
yeah.
And I'm like, you can tell within 10 seconds if this person is worth your time.
Wow, good to know. Good
More
to
on
know.
that later.
Perfect. Next slide.
Yes, please.
Hmm?
All right, now Discord. Discord has popped off in the last couple of years. I am literally in probably 20 different animation specific Discord channels.
Hmm.
This is the best place for connecting with peers. This is your best way to network, especially if you do not live in LA or New York or Toronto, one of the like this, but you still want to be a part of this industry, or you still want to touch children's media in some way, then Discord's going to be your best friend. That's when
Mm.
you're going to be able to network with peers, people who are entry level, people that are mid career, people that are experienced, and have kind of that cross pollination, a place to ask for help, ask for advice, to give help, give advice,
Mm.
um, and make genuine connections in a like judgment free zone. Recruiters aren't really looking for you on Discord. This is not where you're putting together. There's no like profile, right? You're not putting together anything that you're showing to the world. It's
Yeah.
just a place, it's a community. It's a place for you to build community. And
Okay.
so I really love and suggest Discord for that. Next slide, please. Twitter, or X, if you will, is kind of dying. I think since it switched to X and their algorithms have changed, it's become much more heavy-handed in right-wing propaganda and in like AI bots and misinformation, things like that. And because of that, a lot of people are not utilizing it as much. So if you are like, I don't want to touch Twitter, absolutely, that's fine. You can use the alternate Blue Sky, but Blue Sky isn't really huge and ubiquitous in the way that Twitter once was. But if you are using Twitter, X, Blue Sky, then this is the place for discourse, right? You're not really so much posting your art. You can, but because you don't have that same kind of feed as you do in Instagram, it's not as evident on a site like this. So instead, this is where you're maybe posting an article that you read in Cartoon Brew, and then you're like, here are my thoughts about this. Or you see somebody else that's talking about this show that you really loved, and so you retweet and respond, and you're like, oh my God, I agree, blah, 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 blah. It's the place to kind of have that industry discourse.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because you said Twitter and X is like dying out, if I don't have one, I shouldn't even have, because there are so many platforms to keep up with anyway. By the time we end this conversation, there'll probably be 3 more. We don't have to worry. Like you would suggest, don't even
If you don't
sign
have
up.
one, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Got
But
it.
if you
Okay.
do have one, you are including it in your applications, then these are the ways to tailor it.
Got it. And just to be clear, all of these platforms that you're talking about, you're saying all of this if this is what you're sharing, with recruiters. These are the links on your resume. If you're using them, then this is
Right.
what needs to be on them.
Yes, I am by no means saying you have to have a LinkedIn and an Instagram and a Discord and a Twitter. Like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
If you want to have all of those things, power to you. I think that a portfolio website and a LinkedIn at the very least, or an Instagram. If you're more of a visual artist, you can kind of replace LinkedIn with Instagram. Although I suggest having both. That's your starter pack. That's the place where you want to make sure you have for sure. Yeah, don't have nothing. At the very least, a LinkedIn.
Gotcha. Next slide.
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, you have honorable mentions here, but I do want to ask Karen's question just because I don't see a YouTube. She asked, do recruiters scan YouTube for potential talent?
No,
Okay.
because YouTube is such long form content that like we don't have time to be searching around on there. Now, if your portfolio is like a link to a YouTube video that you curated your work onto, then yeah, I'm going to click and look at that. But I'm not just inherently going to YouTube to search for people.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So a couple of honorable mentions. ArtStation is like a browser version of an Instagram that a lot of CG artists and illustration artists use. So if that is your bag, I highly recommend an ArtStation. Reddit is again like a browser made version that's similar to a Discord. So finding communities and having those conversations, that's great. TikTok, which is on a weird journey in our country. But it is still alive and well, and there are a lot of creators that are on there who are showing their process, showing what they've worked on, giving tips, things like that. I used to have I ran an account for a while that was tips from an animation recruiter, where I was just answering people's questions about like the real things you need to know. So there's stuff out there on TikTok that can be really helpful. But again, TikTok is one of those ones where you want to be real careful that you have like your animation TikTok or your children's media TikTok or your professional TikTok versus your personal, where you're doing the latest like trendy dance or lip syncing or like telling a story while you're doing your makeup. Like, keep that separate.
Gotcha.
And then Linktree or similar websites. These are ones that you can create your branding, have it fit your visual brand, and then it's a link to everything in one place. So it's got your website, it's got your reel, it's got a link maybe to your resume and your cover letter, it's got the link to your socials, that one time that you were interviewed on a podcast, all of the things just in one easy to find place. And then you can use that link in your bio across all the different platforms to make it really easy for someone to go from one platform to the other, to find you in one place to the other. So I really like using that. I personally use something called Bitly, Bitly. That is like a digital business card. So it's an app on my phone. I make a Linktree type thing, and then it gives me a QR code. And when I meet somebody new and we want to exchange information, I hold up my QR code. They scan that, and then the app automatically pops up on their phone of all of my information, and then they can save that into their phone contacts.
Yep, I saw that when I went to Kidscreen, Kidscreen, if you don't know, is like a big, huge kids conference where everyone who works in the business goes. It's in San Diego again this year before it moves back to Miami. But that was my first time seeing that. I was like, "Oh, how are you? Nice to meet you. Oh, let's exchange. Oh, scan." I was like, "Wait, what?" And then I scanned, and all of their information popped up.
Just and you don't have to have the app.
Yeah, exactly. And you know who did it? Kay from Sesame Street. She's like
Really?
the person, and I scanned, and all of her information was right there, and I was like, genius.
It's so helpful. And then if you do have the app, again, the person who's scanning your QR code doesn't have to have it. It just pops up in their phone, and they can hit save into their contacts. But for you who you do have the app, it will remember the metadata of when and where you were when you met that person. So if you're like, "Oh my God, I was at Kidscreen and I met like 50 people that day and I cannot remember," you go and you can filter and you're like, "Who did I meet at like 3 p.m. on this day?" And it'll tell you. But yes, the app is called Bitly, Bitly, and it's like a Linktree app type thing on your phone that you can use as a digital business card.
I love that. Someone said Dot Cards does that as well. So
Yes.
Bitly, Dot Cards. A question. There's Linktree, there's Bitly, there's Dot Cards. What about just giving your website? So AnishaDubois.com, and on AnishaDubois.com, you can click through LinkedIn. You can click the icon for my Instagram, or a link to my portfolio. Like, is that just my website with all of my information there? Is that compatible to like a Linktree, or
If I wouldn't say it's comparable, because typically a website, it has a lot of different things going on. You have menus and sub menus. People have to click through to find that information. Okay. Whereas a Linktree or something like that is going to just have everything plainly in a list so that you can find and click really quickly. Gotcha. Especially when you're working with recruiters, you have to optimize everything for time. I don't want to waste any moment of your time. I want to make it as easy as possible for you to find the information that you need. Otherwise, you're going to move on to the next person.
I have another question, but it's going to go to the next one on resumes and cover letters, so I'll hold it.
Okay. Well, that is the end of my presentation about social media in particular. So I think we can stop the presentation and just see what questions people have.
Awesome. If you all have any questions, feel free to drop them in. I did have a comment here. Rachel, who's watching, she said, "I don't want to completely shut the door on the prospect of a job outside of creative spaces." She said she's worried about having branding such as loud color palettes or more kid-oriented branding might scare them off. But she also doesn't want to bore the creative recruiters either. So I don't know if you had maybe a comment to that or reply to that.
Wait, so what's the concern?
So she's saying she doesn't want to completely shut the door on the prospect of a job outside of creative spaces. So like she may want, she's a creative, but she may want to get maybe a 9 to 5. And she's asking, if those 9 to 5 recruiters come to her, LinkedIn or wherever, they see this colorful, kid friendly, like, are they like, "Oh, she doesn't want, like, this doesn't matter. Like, she doesn't want to, I don't know, work at the school. She wants to, she doesn't want to work at the bank. She wants to be a creative." Like, does that, do you think a recruiter in that space, I'm assuming this is Rachel's, where she's getting at, a recruiter in a space outside of animation or creative, do you think if they come to her, her platforms or her social media and see those type of things, or that type of like palettes and coloring, are they like turned off by it?
Got it. I think for your branding, it's okay to be bright and colorful and kid friendly if that's how you want to represent yourself across the board. Okay. But then when we're looking at like a resume that you're going to make for a creative job versus a resume that you're going to make for like a corporate desk job, they're going to look completely different. Not just in like the information that you have on there, but like the literal design of them can and should look completely different. So you don't have to close the door on any one thing. I think finding a branding style that can fit in both places, and then curating the information that you're actually submitting to people when you're applying for those jobs.
Gotcha. Her follow-up question. She says she already has business cards, but because she bought more than she needed, should she make sure her digital branding and the design of the sorry, another question came in, I lost it. Hold on. Rachel said, I already have business cards because I bought more than I needed. Should I make sure my digital branding and the design of the business card match? She says, my business cards match the old promo material for a now trunked Fiverr account.
If you're still going to be using the business cards, then yeah, you want them to reflect how you're reflecting yourself overall. But I think if the business cards are kind of connected to a you that's not really the you that you're putting forward anymore, it might just be time to let those go.
Gotcha.
And be like, I'm just going to switch to the digital version. I don't have to worry about printing things out anymore. And I'm gonna use my Blink or my Bitly, my card, like that moving forward.
Gotcha. Rose asked, kind of going off of that, what are some tips for branding yourself as a multidisciplinary creator?
Ooh, I think tie your brand to you rather than what you do, right? Like when I was describing my brand earlier, my brand is spooky snakes. That's my brand. And that has nothing to do, like, you don't look at that and be like, this person is an agent for animation artists.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna, that connection is not evidently clear. But you see me in real life, you meet me in person, and you're like, spooky snakes. I get it.
You get it, yeah.
I think finding that branding that reflects you. And again, you don't have to get as detailed and creative as I do. I mean, my focus is mostly in the animation world, and so having an animated avatar of myself makes sense. But maybe you're a writer, and so then it makes more sense to have like your signature, or it makes sense to have like your initials in a square in a certain color, and you just use that color everywhere. Like, there are so many different ways that you can create a branding profile. Honestly, just go out and Google like brand logos, and look, you'll get thousands of them that will pop up, and you will be surprised how many of them you automatically recognize, how many of them you know. And you can use that as an inspiration of like, okay, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to get too crazy. I just need to be consistent.
Max asked, how do you recommend going about finding a manager?
Ooh, good question. Yeah, so backing up a little bit, I am currently work as a manager, which is like the inverse of being a recruiter. So as a recruiter, I worked for the studio. In this case, it was Netflix Animation, and I looked for people to bring on to the various jobs. Now, as a manager, I work for the people. I work for the artists, and I help to connect them to jobs. But outside of that, because that's just doing that is the work of an agent. As a manager, my scope of work is a little bit bigger than that, because yes, I'm helping connect you to the jobs, but I'm also your career coach in general. So we're figuring out, what is it you're trying to achieve in your career? What are the steps that you need to take to get there? Who are the people that you need to know? Like all of those pieces, I'm strategizing that with you and kind of leading you through. So you're the president of your career. I'm your advisory cabinet. You're the one that's like, this is my agenda. And then I have to figure out, oh crap, how do we get that done?
Yeah.
So that you can just, focus on the art, focus on the creative, focus on your big lofty goals. And then it's my job to help you make those come true. So just explaining for people who may not know what a manager is. Now, if you want to find a manager, cold reach outs are totally fine. I respond to those, but they need to understand who I am and what I do. So the people who reach out to me and they're like, hey, you want to make this action movie? Will you rep me? I'm like, no. But if you come to me and you're like, I want to work it with, make this preschool cartoon show, will you rep me? I'm like, okay, we can talk.
Yeah.
So yeah, cold reach outs is great. Most often though, it's more about putting yourself out there in the world, having a strong social media presence,
Hmm.
attending events, networking events, things like that. Most
Hmm.
often, agents and managers find you rather than you finding us.
Okay. Roz asked, what are the top three things you look for when you're quickly scanning or when you were quickly scanning through resumes? Like, what were your top three things you looked for? And then what are your red flags?
Top things I'm looking for is you being demonstrating that you not only know what the job you're applying for is, but that you can demonstrate to me that you can do that role.
Hmm.
Um, and being very pointed at that. So if let's say I'm looking for a character designer and I go to your portfolio and I'm seeing a bunch of illustrations, I'm seeing a bunch of um, set design or like background paintings, things like that, and I'm looking for a character designer, I don't see enough character design, moving on,
Mm.
right? So really making sure that you are showcasing the specific exact skill that you're applying for.
Hmm.
um, that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for. And then secondarily is the quality of the work. Is the quality of your work at production level, right?
Hmm.
Like you have to be able to come in and sit down and do the work as good as the person sitting next to you who's been
Hmm.
doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. Not to say that you have to have like the same wisdom and the same tips and tricks and know-how, but you do need to have like the foundations of whatever it is that you do as a writer, a drawer, an actor, whatever it is. Though you have to be strong enough in those foundations that you can work with somebody with that amount of experience. Especially today, studios don't have the time, the money or the effort to train people. So you
Hmm.
have to come in and be production ready. So I don't have a third thing, but I think those are the two major things that I'm looking for. Can you do the job and can you do it well?
Gotcha.
Red flags are people who are posting things or showing me things, submitting things that have nothing to do with anything. Um, or that is a student portfolio rather than a professional one, meaning like, here's a project that I did for this class, and here's a project that I did for this class, rather than here's my work as a character designer, here's my work as a storyboard artist.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and people who don't understand the difference between like if you're applying to write for a series versus applying to write for a feature, like what kind of samples are you sending me? Are you sending me feature samples when you're applying for a series? Because that doesn't work. Or if you're sending me series samples when you're applying for a feature, that doesn't work, right? So understanding what the needs of the job are and being able to showcase that. If you don't get that, it tells me you're an amateur. You don't actually understand this business. You don't understand what's going on, and that's just going to immediately turn me away.
Got it. I did want to ask, like, let's say, if you give, everyone watching, like the three things to do after this session ends. Let's say they had a LinkedIn, like, as far as like cleaning it up, like, do you suggest like going back and, removing everything from, 2024 and back? Like, is cleaning up the social media like really necessary? Or can they just start from today and keep it going? Like, for instance, like if they haven't posted on LinkedIn in 2 years, and then you're a recruiter, you come on their LinkedIn and you see like in the past 3 months they posted 4 times. Like, do you look at like do you scroll back?
No, again, ain't nobody got time for that.
Okay.
But I will say that you should purge anything that's going to make you look bad or be embarrassing. And I
Mhm.
don't mean like art that you were doing back then and you're like, oh, I'm better than that now. That
Yeah.
shows growth. That's great. But if you had a post where you got drunk right now one night and you started posting how much you hated such and such movie and like this
Yeah.
director is trash,
Yeah.
probably want to delete that, right?
So clean it up if you
Or
got.
yeah. The things that are a little bit messy, maybe, or if you didn't have that separation between personal and professional, maybe you're taking your personal and you're making it your professional. So you have to go through and take out all your personal stuff so that
Gotcha.
it stays firmly professional. So
Okay.
those are the ways in which I would say go back and edit. Otherwise, you don't really have to worry about it.
Gotcha. This has been so helpful. I'm so glad that I did not cheat and watch the slides. I know you had to. Sam told me, hey, go through the slides. I was like, no, like I want to be a student in this because, I need to know. I want to ask all the questions in real time. I love this. Any more questions before we sign off? Daniel said he's so offline, so these tips are very helpful. Thank you so much. A lot of thank yous coming through. Jamie said, thank you so much for taking the time. This was great to hear. I hope you all found part 1 so insightful, so invaluable. We have part 2. This is a 4-part series, so we're breaking it down. We're going to give you time to digest all the information before we move on. So part 2 is in, I think, 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part 2 is in 2 weeks, and that's all about resumes and cover letters. And I can't wait because the cover letter drives me nuts. So I cannot ask you about the cover letter. So join us.
What's crazy is I teach people how to write cover letters, and I still struggle to write my own cover letter. It's so hard.
You know what I think is, I'm like, they don't really read this. Like what? And then so when I'm applying and I've seen this on social, so I know I'm not alone. I've seen people say, when the job asks for the cover letter, I'm gone. And that's me. And that's probably so bad, but it's just the cover letter. So I'm super excited to get into that. Max asked, is it possible to sign up for part 3 and 4? Yes. Parts 2, 3, and 4 are all on childrensmediaassociation.org. You can sign up now, and we will see you all in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you have 2 weeks to get your branding, your social media together, because this information stacks.
Yes.
So get that together, and then we're going to utilize that moving forward into our resume and cover letter.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much, Sam. I will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was fun. I'll see y'all soon.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.